George, I know you ain't do that. They seen what Carl was on top of that. I'll take that.
Pattern of lawlessness, multiple open cases, committing new crimes while out on bond.
On January 16, 2017, Elizabeth Faye Cannon fired multiple shots at Vernon Marcus Jr. and his friend as they walked past her home on Bloomfield Drive in Monroe, Georgia. Marcus sustained a critical gunshot wound during the incident. Cannon later told law enforcement that she fired her weapon to scare the young men, claiming they had been throwing rocks at her house. However, Deputy Young, one of the responding officers, noted, Ms. Cannon admitted she fired several shots just to scare the individuals walking near her property. She didn't intend to hit anyone, but she did. Despite Cannon's claims, investigators found no evidence of property damage or any indication that the boys had thrown rocks. Her daughter also testified that there had been no threats or rock throwing before the shooting. During the trial, the prosecution and defense debated the justification for Cannon's actions.
After speaking with the responding deputy, Deputy Young, he stated that Ms. Cannon had admitted to him several shots just to scare gentlemen that was walking near her property, and she didn't mean to hit one of them.
The victim couldn't provide one due to medical treatment, but his friend stated that they had been walking home from a store when they suddenly heard gunshots from Cannon's area. He turned to see his friend had been hit. The defense argued that Cannon had previously called the police regarding harassment and alleged break-ins.
Only thing he stated that previously in the past, she has been calling the police on them, had been harassing them, claiming that they've been breaking into her house, had been doing different stuff to them, and he also said that she's used several racial slurs towards them.
In the past, it sounds like she's called the police for intervention and help. What did the witness tell you was different about this day, where a handgun was used or a firearm was used? What's the justification for the difference on this particular incident if no contact was made?
I have no idea.
No clue. Okay, that's all we have for today.
The prosecution contended that Cannon's actions were reckless and unwarranted, as there was no immediate threat. Body camera footage later revealed that Cannon had previously talked about using her firearm to handle perceived threats, reinforcing the prosecution's case. Reports also indicated she had used racial slurs when confronting individuals outside her home. Cannon's defense attorney cited her declining health and stress, requesting a lighter sentence. However, Judge Howard Sims stressed the seriousness of her actions, emphasizing the need for accountability. Cannon was sentenced to 20 years in prison, with 15 years to be served and the remaining 5 years on probation. Additionally, she was ordered to pay restitution for Marcus medical expenses. In November 2018, law enforcement in Monroe, Georgia, apprehended DeQuavius Jamal DJ Howard in connection with the fatal shooting of Michael Antoine Chapman. Howard was charged with both murder and armed robbery and was denied bond following his arrest. As the case progressed through the legal system over the years, Howard eventually stood trial. The courtroom saw emotional testimonies from both the prosecution and the defense, as the impact of the crime weighed heavily on all involved. At sentencing, the judge delivered a powerful statement, directly addressing Howard and the consequences of his actions. You, and only you, bear the burden of the grief that follows.
You, and you alone, are responsible for all of the grief that comes with that. You are responsible for every bit of anguish and agony that everybody on that side of the room feels, including your own family.
The judge emphasized how Howard's actions had inflicted irreversible pain on not just the victim's family, but his own as well. If I lived for 1,000 years, I still wouldn't understand why this community resorts to guns to settle disputes more than in other places. The only break I had from seeing lifeless bodies in this courtroom was during the pandemic.
If I live to be 1,000 years old, son, I will never understand why it is that in this community we settle our differences with a gun. To a greater extent than I see in a lot of other places. The only good thing about the coronavirus pandemic was that I got a year off from having to sit in this room and look at dead bodies on that screen and young men at that table who had killed them. For years, I do it all the time.
Expressing frustration over the prevalence of violence, the judge lamented that gun-related conflicts had become disturbingly common. This tragedy claimed 2 lives, yours and Mr. Chapman's, and 2 families will never be the same. All of this because of a decision you made, a choice that too many young men around here continue to make. The judge underscored the devastating ripple effect of Howard's decision, reiterating how the consequences extended far beyond the 2 individuals involved. This is a somber day for everyone in this room. As much as I wish this sentencing would prevent future crimes, I know it won't stop the next person or the one after that. But what I can do is make sure you never have the chance to do this again. Ending his remarks, the judge made it clear that while the justice system couldn't put an end to violence entirely, it could ensure that Howard would no longer be a part of it. Howard was sentenced to life in prison. In April 2022, a fatal altercation in Milwaukee led to the tragic loss of 24-year-old Haven Luckett. The accused, 25-year-old Kenneth Tman, was charged with first-degree reckless homicide and illegal possession of a firearm due to his prior felony conviction. The incident occurred when Tman, driving in a reckless manner, opened fire on Luckett outside a store near Fond du Lac and Locust. Following the shooting, he fled the scene, evading authorities for several months until U.S. Marshals apprehended him in Oak Creek. Over time, Tman had been listed among Wisconsin's most wanted fugitives on 3 separate occasions. During his trial in 2023, Tman argued that his actions were in self-defense. However, both the jury and the judge dismissed this claim, determining that his behavior was both reckless and unjustified. Adding to the gravity of his case was his prior criminal record, which included multiple ongoing legal matters and offenses committed while on bond. The judge highlighted his disregard for the law, stating that Tman had repeatedly failed to appear in court, skipping hearings 6 times.
The pattern of lawlessness, multiple open cases, committing new crimes while out on bond.
At the sentencing in May 2023, Luckett's family shared their grief, referring to Tman as a coward with a gun.
Kenneth Tman played God with a gun that he had no license to own. He is a coward with a gun. This man has been the devil agent here in our community.
In response, Tman apologized, expressing remorse for his actions.
Could you be lenient in my sentencing, for I'm not who they pay me out to be?
The judge handed down a 35-year prison sentence, with an additional 15 years of extended supervision, citing the danger he posed to society. Further legal trouble followed in January 2024, when Tman was sentenced to another 10 years in federal prison for separate drug and firearm-related offenses. Authorities linked him to drug distribution involving cocaine, heroin, and marijuana while armed with a machine gun in 2018. Additionally, he faced charges for marijuana possession in 2022 and providing false information to a firearms dealer. His federal sentence will run concurrently with his state sentence. Andrew Mollis appeared before Bibb County Superior Court seeking bond after being charged in the December 2022 shooting death of 42-year-old Dedrick Bowles. Mollis turned himself in following the incident, claiming he acted in self-defense. According to Mollis, he was approached by 3 armed men, including Bowles, which led him to fear for his safety. He testified that he retrieved a firearm from his vehicle, but did not immediately fire. However, after a brief exchange, he discharged his weapon, striking Bowles.
Aimed at me and aggressed with him. And what did you do? I got scared and I let off one shot.
Mollis admitted that he had been drinking before the incident, despite being 19 at the time, and confessed to fleeing the scene afterward. His defense team argued for immunity, asserting that his actions were justified under self-defense laws. However, the prosecution countered that his response was excessive. Judge Jeffrey Monroe questioned Mollis's decision-making, particularly why he did not leave the scene after retrieving his weapon. Why didn't he at that point get in his car and leave? The defense explained that Mollis was waiting to close up after his shift at Full House Tavern. However, Judge Monroe found this explanation unconvincing. Friends and family of Dedrick Bowles expressed their devastation, with his girlfriend, Katie Mayo, stating, "Trying to fill the void and the hole of the man that he was is impossible. There will never be another person like him." Despite rejecting the immunity plea, Judge Monroe granted Mollis a $100,000 bond with strict conditions. If released, Mollis must wear an ankle monitor, reside in a neighboring county, and avoid any contact with witnesses. Additionally, he is prohibited from entering Bibb County except for legal proceedings related to the case. In December 2020, 25-year-old George Reel was involved in a fatal crash at the intersection of 60th and Burley in Milwaukee, which claimed the life of 36-year-old Arthur A.J. Baker. Real, driving recklessly, ran a red light, sideswiped two vehicles, and caused his car to flip over, fatally striking Baker. Real pleaded guilty to second-degree recklessly endangering safety and operating a vehicle under the influence of a controlled substance. During his sentencing in Milwaukee County Court, Judge David Borowski condemned Real's actions as reckless and ruthless, emphasizing that he posed a serious danger to society. Comparing his reckless driving to firing a gun into a crowd, the judge underscored the utter disregard for human life. A disruption occurred in court when a friend of Real was caught secretly recording the proceedings.
Take him out of the building. Check the time. George, I know you ain't do that. They seen what Carl was talking about. I'll check that building.
However, Judge Borowski pointed out that Real had been out on bail for another reckless driving case at the time of the crash, further illustrating his ongoing disregard for the law. The judge made it clear that the sentencing was not only about holding Real accountable, but also about preventing future harm. I want to make it very clear. Mr. Real is an extreme danger to the community. In fact, I think he's a certainty to reoffend. Real was sentenced to 20 years in prison, followed by 15 years of extended supervision after his release. The judge issued the maximum sentence, influenced in part by a plea from Baker's sister, who urged the court to impose the harshest punishment possible. In November 2024, Darius Tyson, a high-ranking member of the Bloods gang, was accused of orchestrating illegal activities from his jail cell at the Durham County Detention Facility. Prosecutors alleged that Tyson used an illegal cell phone to coordinate drug deals and arrange for drug smuggling inside the jail. My understanding, in speaking with one at the rank over at the jail, is that they were on the phone. They're able to verify him setting up drug transactions and money drops. Additionally, Tyson was accused of having sexual relations with two female jail workers, both of whom later became pregnant. His defense attorney argued for a reduction in his $1.25 million bond, claiming that Tyson was a victim of assault and could not have legally consented to the encounters. Assaulted by law cannot consent. He is a victim in those cases. However, prosecutors opposed the bond reduction, presenting evidence of Tyson's continued criminal behavior while in custody. The court denied his request, keeping him in custody as he awaits trial. What do you think he wants to tell everyone? He's innocent. He's innocent of all the charges. Tyson's mother, Marette Tyson, insisted that her son was innocent and claimed he was being unfairly targeted by law enforcement. She also alleged that jail staff had assaulted him, though the sheriff's office denied any record of such incidents. Murder conspiracy charges. Tyson is also facing serious charges related to the 2022 disappearance and presumed murder of Sean Burton, a 44-year-old father of 6. Burton was last seen on March 22, 2022, and his body has never been found. Tyson has been charged with murder, conspiracy to commit murder, kidnapping, burglary. As of January 2025, Tyson remains in custody at Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina, awaiting trial. His trial for the murder of Sean Burton is currently scheduled for February 20th, 2025, though his defense attorney has suggested that the trial may be delayed.